All right. Hello and welcome to yet another week of the Abuse Cartoons stream. Whoa, sorry. Got a little camera issue here. I think our framing's a little bit wacky. How's that? Okay, well, we'll go with that, I guess. So kind of a gray day, so you're going to just see kind of a white washed out mess behind me, but oh, jeez. Yeah, but believe me, there's plenty of traffic. If you can't hear that, there's lots of traffic going on behind me. Tiny little trucks. It's amazing how small the construction vehicles and things get here. They look like toys. I mean, they look they just got a lot of size restrictions, and especially the roads. They don't have any huge roads, so they don't have any huge earth moving equipment that they can bring into residential areas or do residential construction. Of course, with the large scale skyscrapers and stuff, everything's huge, but I've seen some very tiny little backhoes and little tractors and things here that are humorously small. All right, so let's see how this is going. We also may have some fun Photoshop issues. You never know. Oh boy. Okay, well, we have 0 pressure sensitivity. All right. We may have to open the... Yeah, we've got 0 pressure sensitivity. Oh, great. Okay, well, this may have been a bit premature. Let's see. Sorry about this. Let's see if we can find out what this is. No. Yeah, I think we're gonna need a restart here, but I don't know. We'll see. I could have sworn I had taken care of this, but you never know. Oh, yeah, everything seems to be a little strange and laggy and odd right now. So, okay. Yeah, and there's not... That's so strange that they have the this ink space settings thing, and there's no pressure sensitivity, and that's separate in your Wacom driver, and most of the time the Wacom driver is not available. It's wonderful. Where's my pen? Oh wow, location on your pen, so I guess that's a Microsoft thing. Wow, well, this is off to an exciting start. Aren't you glad you joined me? Oh, so are we doing this? Oh boy. Well, we can do some amazingly unsubtle work today. Let's see. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's just at a ridiculous setting. Okay, well, we have pressure sensitivity. Great. Aren't you glad you stuck around for that? Okay, so, yeah, we'll give this a try. Yeah, it seems to be okay. Not amazing, but that's usual. Yeah, I was thinking, I better keep talking here. Was thinking about a loaf of bread joke, but I don't know if that's gonna work. We'll see. The loaves of bread here are very funny, very different. So you basically get more of a loaf pan is maybe that is kind of the maximum size of a loaf pan here, because they're not expecting you to make sandwiches for 12 people at your house. So and then they slice that loaf or half of that loaf into 3, 4, 5, or 6 slices. And that also determines the width. So the fewer slices, the thicker the width. So you get some pieces of bread for, kind of that Texas toast style that are pretty thick here. So that's fun. That's something that a foreigner can identify with, is thick toast. But bread is, much more expensive. But in a lot of cases, much better, a lot more hand-baked, or, more bakery style things. Less bagged, what is that called? Just processed, kind of bread, the factory style bread in the plastic bag. There's a lot more of that, and it may just be the city. Although, even the small towns will have bread shops where you can get much better quality bread and just different kinds of recipes, sourdough and things like that you probably can't find in just a regular grocery store. So let's try a few loaves of bread while we're getting warmed up here. Yeah, that's a surprising. Both the beef and the bread here are surprisingly good, and maybe kind of tuned, to a Japanese taste, and much smaller portions, much smaller amounts of things, but some really good, European style bread, and some really good bread and the beef, and very amazingly tasty, very small pieces of very amazing beef here. And I think both of those things are pretty new, but I will. Is that coming across? Yeah, no, I think that's fine. I hope that doesn't start ringing on my. Yep. Hold on just a minute. I'll be. All right, sorry about that. Little Skype pop up, but I will deal with that in a little bit. So bread, bread and meat. All right. There we go. So I was thinking of some sandwich jokes, so maybe we'll come up with something along those lines. Let's see. Sorry to get distracted. Let's see. Here we go. All right. And this is one thing that I have no idea how you would find in Japan, is kind of that processed lunch meat. You can get some, at import shops, you can get some Italian meats and cheeses and things, but not that American deli style. So, so that's a thing that I kind of miss, but probably don't miss all the fatty goodness of that. I probably don't need it. All right, so there's some silly looking lunch meat. All right. Yeah, something like that. I think the scale is actually going to work okay. Both of those like that. Yeah, something like that. All right, so we got some sandwiches and let's see. Staying here. There we go. Okay. Oh, is that working? Yeah, there we go. Okay, wow, sort of a scatterbrain stream this week, but what do you know? Okay. So, yeah, as far as let's try some other things here. Yeah, there's not. I guess it's getting. Food is, if you know, some of the grocery stores are starting to carry a lot more, kind of Chinese grown food. So they're trying to, hit this kind of cheap price point. But, people just don't have big families here. And even though they do have Costco, for that bulk shopping, there's just not much necessity. I mean, there's some people that live in these ridiculous houses, kind of the American, McMansion style, with the giant entryway and the big, what are those called? The great rooms. That, 90s style of home decorating. Oh, I heard, if I've said this already, I apologize, but I heard something interesting. So, the great room became that, so it's kind of that LDK kind of area. Oh, sorry, that's a Japanese thing. They refer to apartments. The living room, dining room, kitchen is usually one big area. So it's like a 2 LDK apartment in Japan would be a two rooms and then a living room, dining room, kitchen. But that LDK is one big room. So that late 80s or 90s kind of American McMansion architecture with the big door, like even if the door in the front of your house wasn't big, the doorway, the entryway was giant, and then you had usually a 2-story giant entryway into the front of the house, and then the great room, that went into the great room, which is always kind of this open air 2-story giant kind of vaulted ceiling, probably skylight kind of room, and so that became a thing. But previously it was like living room, family room. If you're buying a house or looking at houses built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, it's the living room, family room thing. And the living room is formerly what people would refer to as the parlor. It's where you would kind of receive people and visitors and stuff. So it's your nice furniture, your nice room, and you'd serve tea or coffee or whatever for visitors there. And so it used to be called the parlor. And I heard something interesting, and I'm not sure exactly the timeline for this, and I don't even know if this is true, but I thought this was a funny anecdote. That the living room, it was renamed the living room at a certain point because, probably, wow, I don't know how I did that, because at a certain point, people would, when someone in the family died, and maybe at this time, so maybe we're talking like 19th century, and I think this is specifically an American thing. People would have the body, and maybe for the viewing of the body before the popularity of funeral homes, they would keep the body in the parlor. So when people would come to pay their respects, they would come to the house and they would view the body of the dead relative, the dead family member in the parlor. And to discourage people from doing that, and maybe to promote the use of funeral homes and funeral parlors and doing all of your funerary rituals away from your home, they decided to rename the parlor the living room. And so it just became popular to call it a room for the living. So don't show us your dead grandmother in your parlor. We want to sit in your living room. And so I thought that was a funny thing. I don't know exactly the timeline, like when that changed, but I thought that's very specifically, prejudiced against the dead to basically discuss only having, only having living people in that particular room of the house. Yeah. All I can remember from growing up is the living room being that extra room that you weren't allowed to play in, that you sometimes people were in there, but most of the time nobody was ever in there. And in the certain kind of neighborhoods I lived in, it was always white carpeting. It was always white carpeting in that room, so I'm sure it was wonderful to maintain. So that's why you don't go in there, because it's the nice furniture that we don't want all damaged from kids running into it, and white carpeting. But yeah, so I thought that was a very funny, because I've never heard anybody refer to any room in their house as the parlor, but there are rooms that function that way. The living room always kind of functions in that way. Wow, things are really slow. So then when I heard that story, I thought that was very funny, because it's so interesting how people can use language to change people's thinking, or try to manipulate or push people's ideas one way or another. So the idea that you wouldn't put dead people in a living room was very funny. I think that's nice, but that's not. Yeah, I think this looks like a cupcake. But yeah, and so there still is. Yeah, I don't know that much about it, because most of the Japanese houses I've been in are more modern style. So they still want to have a tatami room kind of for, it's kind of a guest room, so you can keep the futon and, the kind of bedding you can put away more easily. So people have that, and even apartments will have tatami rooms that people, I guess, can use to receive people. But it's a very different kind of thing here, and it is more ritualized. I mean, you do need to be able to receive people in a more formal way, and always, serve tea or something. But I don't remember my point beyond that. But we have a cupcake. And yeah, so those rituals in houses. Yeah, so so the living room, and I don't remember the living room ever being very functional during my childhood, and then that just kind of died, and everything turned into the great room. So houses built, in the 90s and later, I don't think there is a place to receive people. You receive people directly into the room with your giant TV and the place where you spend all of your time. Yeah, so it's there's no more family room with the shag carpet and the TV and then the white carpet living room. There's just one giant show-off room that's, like a 2-story vaulted ceiling ridiculous thing. And that's where you show everybody how wonderful your house is after they come through that giant door. Yeah, it's very funny. But so I guess my point was that was a bit of a tangent, but they do build a kind of a mini version of those houses here, even though people have no use for, 5-6 bedroom, ridiculous, McMansions. People don't live at home, and people usually have 3 kids at the most. It's very it's very unusual to find people with 4 kids or more, even though there's a lot of incentive. I think local governments and companies and everybody, if you have over 2 kids, you get some benefit from that, because they're looking to repopulate. But so I've seen those kinds of houses built, and there is Costco here, but I don't understand what is motivating that. Yeah, so less processed food here, but maybe not so much more than there used to be. I think a lot more companies, a lot more of the, less desirable, very factory, baked goods companies and snack companies and stuff are really producing now. in Japan, so you're getting a lot more of that stuff that, you know, feels much more like American style snack foods. And there almost is a weird segregation, at least in the few grocery stores that I kind of regularly have been in, where there'll be the American snacks, the potato chips and popcorn, and rarely pretzels, but, you know, potato chips, popcorn, and you know, different corn chips and nachos and things, and Doritos and things, you know, a lot of those kinds of snacks. And, you know, just about every flavor of Pringles you can imagine. or even potato chips. The Japanese chip makers do a lot of different meat and fish flavored chips. And so you have a ton of those. And then there'll be another section that's kind of the okaki, or the you know, the snacks, the beer snacks, the Japanese beer snacks. And so a lot of, like, you know, dried squid, or the little spicy peanuts and cracker type things that go good with Japanese beer, or that, you know, they'll serve at a Japanese bar. So those are almost kind of two separate sections. So the kind of more Western snacks, and sometimes even, like, you know, potato chips and cookies and everything in one aisle. And the other section will be the Japanese snacks. And so that's funny that they're segregated, because they're kind of the same thing. Although I believe that the Japanese snacks are probably a bit on the healthier side, or less processed, less you know, synthetic side. I don't think they're made in a lab. I think they're just old recipes of bar snacks. So yeah, that's a funny thing. They kind of separate those things, so maybe older people that specifically have Japanese taste don't have to be confused and annoyed by all the brightly colored, you know, potato chip bags when they're looking for some snacks. But yeah, so that's an interesting, yeah, difference, and I don't think it's going to help, you know, health-wise, anybody that, you know, that switch is not going to be helpful to anybody. Oh, all right. Yeah, since I've been here, it was interesting that Japan was able to keep Walmart as a brand. I know that hasn't happened in China. Like, you know, Walmart met with the Chinese government, and there's, you know, Chinese Walmart now. But I was surprised that Japan kept Walmart out, because, you know, things like Costco and stuff happened here. And I think it would be pretty damaging, especially to the small family-run businesses here, just like in America, the, you know, main streets and things. They already are. They're already hurting here, but I think that would just finish them off. But there is a Japanese company, so it's not Walmart, but I was in that shop. It's kind of that same kind of discount, big, you know, housewares kind of shop, not really clothing or anything, but, you know, kind of the houseware section of a Walmart. It looks exactly like that. And I think it's Seifu or Seidu. It's one of the kind of real cheap, low-end department store looking, but really low-end. And they had some signage there, and you know, the signs were just kind of slotted into these metal frames that were standing. And on the front is the, you know, the Japanese signage, but on the back they had maybe saved the printing or whatever, so double printed on both sides was Chinese Walmart. So, and it was all Walmart. Yeah, all Walmart signage. And then I noticed that the price tags, the price tags are printed on that same kind of, like, maybe white and yellow thing that Walmart has. So that is Walmart. I mean, I don't know if they're just using distribution or whatever, but it is Walmart, or Chinese Walmart, in Japan. So they're here, and it's just not, they just don't have those freestanding crazy stores like they build in the US, you know, kind of for cars only. So these are kind of, you know, near train stations, and kind of, you know, getting their way into the you know, shopping areas, but near train stations. None of that big thing that pulls everybody away from a main street or an area. But anyhow, yeah, I know that's exciting for everybody, and that's probably insanely old news. I'm sure that's 10-year-old news. But Walmart has made it to Japan. They just don't call themselves Walmart. Okay. So let's... Oh, I forgot I don't need to find my layers anymore. I can kind of selectively... I don't think that's a thing. I will put this potato chip somewhere. Okay. A collection of snacks. So, there we are. Okay. So what do we have here? So we have some lunch meat and bread and a wonderful collection of snack foods. All right, let's go with this and see how things look. Sorry, let me just take a peek. What's going on here? Okay. All right. Oh, but one thing that is very much Japan, I think it's old, like from the 19th century. Like they don't have the date. Usually there's a date somewhere. But a very standard thing here, I'll show you. So this mark is the Mitsuya cider mark. So that's kind of their big soft drink, one of their big soft drink companies here. But they make just regular cider, which is, I don't know what, it's not, it's just a very light kind of sweet drink. And it's, you know, kind of almost clear, little cloudy clear. Yeah, like, so it looks like almost like 7-Up. But they do fruit flavors, and they do kind of regional fruit flavors and seasonal. They're always changing. And the amazing thing is, I don't know, it could be completely artificial, but it tastes very, very natural. And they're listing at the bottom, they're claiming, 15% fruit juice in here. So it may actually be that region's actual juice, combined with their cider sweet soda, but it's amazing. So anything, if you're ever at a convenience store here and you see, any flavor of Mitsuya cider, and it's usually they pair it with mostly their Japanese citrus or apples or pears, but it's amazing. It's the flavor of their cider is very light, and it complements the fruit flavors very well. So it's always amazing. I've never been disappointed in a flavor, and there's a lot of unique, interesting regional flavors here of different kinds of fruits. So it's really fun to try them, just based on the cider. Let's try this for bread. Hey, we're ignoring all layers. Let's pay attention to those layers. Actually, I think I'll go with blue, because I think I'm gonna have to go with yellow for this packaging, if I remember correctly. That Oscar Mayer orangey red or orangey yellow color, and then I'll do some pinkish lunch meat. I think it's gonna do pinkish orange, or else it might not read. Okay, let's try this. Whoa. Alright, that's completely off. Still got some weird glare because of my wonderful monitor position. Yeah, that works. Okay, and let's do a layer with some details here so we can make that package more authentic. Alright. Oh, sorry about my noisy breathing in the mic. Yeah, that's something I should listen back. I gotta make sure that I'm not into the microphone, because that has to be super unpleasant to listen to during this stream. But yeah, I'm trying to be real minimal with the what am I doing here? With the mouth noise as well, like lip smacking and that kind of thing is, I know, horrible. The better the mic is, the worse that sounds, so I gotta make a conscious effort of not doing that into this mic, because you'll hear it in all its joyless detail. Let's try that here. Yeah, I think this color is bread enough. Is it bread enough? Yeah, that'll work. Okay. I think we're okay. Yeah, let's try some shadows. I'm not sure I want to do anything else on the bread itself. Oops, that's not closed. Something like that, and then this, and definitely some emphasis on this line here. Ugh. All right. Okay. I'm already... Whoa, there we go. Talking only about what I'm drawing, which is not very interesting unless you're watching what I'm drawing. So let's see here. Yeah, so try the Mitsuya cider if you get the chance. Highly recommended. And, yeah, I think I'm going to have to thin things out a little bit here. Again and again. Oh, for the podcast, we did a thing this past weekend where we interviewed a guy from New Zealand, I believe, that originated the gaming group, or one of the biggest gaming groups in Japan, that organizes a little convention. They have during Golden Week, that collection of holidays that I think I was talking about last week. They have a show, or like a 3-day convention, just a big board gaming kind of marathon thing, and it's the 10th annual year, and so we met the originator had gone back to his home country with his wife, but came for the 10th anniversary, so we got to talk to him and talk a little about the history of the organization and everything. And it's really great. It's a really great story, and it's they originally opened their home to people because they had a like kind of a rare situation, a multi-story house in Japan, which they didn't need all of it. It was just the two of them, and so they had room to host people, and so they invite people to come. I think originally starting with that Golden Week, because it's hard for people to get time off from office jobs other than that, and would just invite people into their home to have a kind of gaming group of gaming convention. And yeah, it's great. It's a really nice story, and really shows how warm and kind of giving the expat community can be in these situations, because we're all from different countries, and all English speaking, but slightly different cultures, and they were just really inclusionary, and just everybody, and even pushed very hard to get Japanese members, so people could be interacting, practicing their Japanese, or Japanese practicing their English, and just playing games together. So yeah, really nice story. So I will be uploading that interview on that YouTube channel. So over at Idle Red Hands, which I should maybe share as a channel on this channel. I don't know. Well, I'll get there. I'll get things hooked up someday, so you can find whatever is going on eventually. It doesn't seem to be something I'm particularly good at. How are these? Oh, wait. Maybe eyes? No? Yes? No? Maybe? I think we're good. This should be... Yeah, that should be... There we go. An eye. Okay. Ugh. Flashbacks of my childhood. I think I ate more uncooked hot dogs and bologna than any human should. All right. Here we go. Oh. Just the two of them were going to make a very ugly lunch. Ugly lunch popped into my head when I was drawing this, so I wanted to try to use that. And I will not capitalize the second U. Second letter of the sentence. Just the two of them were going to make a very ugly lunch. Okay. All right. I think there should be a little bit more shadow back there for the bologna. All right. Okay, so just the two of them are going to make a very ugly lunch. And, oh, I have no idea where this is going. But we'll color it and find out. Okay, let's come up with a kind of plain donut color. Something like that. Maybe. Yeah, maybe we'll put chocolate or something on that. Oh, I can't even remember what color Twinkies are, so please forgive me for getting this wrong. Oh. Yeah, I guess just a very pale, much more pale yellow with some burnt part. Something like that. It's maybe a little unsaturated. And the wonderful chocolate color of Ding Dong? I don't even know what they're called now. A potato chip. And should I do more like a snowball? No, those don't have cupcake. I'll just do the more little darker chocolate cupcake. Okay, is that too green? Ooh, that looks very green. Yeah, it's too green. Warm that up a little bit. Yeah, okay. And then we'll do this so nobody can guess what kind of generic untrademarked snack food this is. All right, let's try that. And maybe, yeah, putting paper on it. Well, no, actually I won't. I'll just leave it like that. Which actually means I could probably go darker on top because, yeah, I remember that being pretty dark. Or at least just a little more chocolatey looking than the rest of it. Of course I'm not able to do that. What was I thinking? All right. Yeah, I never even found out. I was out of the country when Hostess collapsed. Not that I'm referencing anything that they would have ever made. But yeah, I wonder what happened with that whole thing. I thought I heard that somebody bought them. I was already too caught up in the Nabisco drama in Japan, where the Japanese company that did Nabisco baked goods lost the license for that, so they stopped making you know, Ritz crackers and Oreo cookies and stuff in Japan at an actual bakery in Japan, baked goods company, and they did them in Thailand or Vietnam or something, some Southeast Asian country, that they could get a better deal. So now you can't eat Japanese Oreos anymore. Not that I think you could tell the difference. There wasn't anything, I think, that made them distinctly Japanese, but yeah, that was a thing. And they must have to go through that all the time with how competitive, you know, Southeast Asia is. Okay, of course not. With you know, manufacturing and production of everything. It must be very easy to leave Japan and find a cheaper situation elsewhere. But you're not going to get that food safety and food quality. That's something that I don't know how I would even deal with. Going back to the okay, let's not do that. Going back to the world of food poisoning, where every new restaurant you try is a gamble with your lower intestines. Yeah, I don't miss that. That's not quite Twinkie color, is it? Or I'll do a little bit more saturation, I guess. But yeah, I don't miss that at all. And the food safety, it's too much. And the food safety, yeah, in Japan is just crazy good. So you don't even think about that stuff. You're very, you know, fearless and brave, trying new things here. Whereas you could get punished for that very often in the U.S. trying an unknown restaurant or some new type of international cuisine that you hadn't heard of before. That was always fun. All right. Yeah, let's go with that. And actually, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I'll put some shadow under the loop here just to give it a little bit more three-dimensional look, and that definitely doesn't do it. All right, and maybe something underneath. It's amazing, the quantities and types of snack foods, and these, you know, very, you know, as bad for you as possible kind of, you know, processed snack foods that we have. And you grow up, at least growing up in the 80s and 90s, I think kids were completely, you know, inundated with that thing. Okay, yeah, there we go. And I guess the parents groups, you know, the ones that lost me my job at Disney Adventures for caring about that children's health, but that really changed things as far as you know, parents' awareness of you know, healthy snacks and things. And I still remember the fights over vending machines in public schools with you know, soda and chips and candy and stuff in them, and how, you know, that was dangerous for the kids. Oh, we need some eyes on everything. And I don't think that was much of a concern. I don't think most parents even noticed us growing up. Seatbelt laws and helmet laws and all those things that came to be when I was a kid. And now we're in the era of Amber Alerts, and I mean that's even very dated, but yeah, things have changed so much. People want their kids to not be in danger much more than when I remember being a kid. All right, but we're not going to start that. When I was a kid on this, we need about 10 or 15 more years before I start talking like that. But I think I already have, actually, so too bad. Okay, let's make all of these kind of shiny, because they were. Okay. And what are these snacks all about? What did I have? Oh, I can't remember what I had in my head about these guys. I love this red t-shirt. It brings out the beautiful red in my eyes. Oh, sorry about that. All right. So we got snack food and sandwiches. So snacking between meal snack. That was always a common. Avoiding between meal snacks was a common thing to tell your kids, or to tell parents to tell their kids, or tell parents to do to their kids. They united between meals. Their effort, their cause, their purpose was to I don't know how epic and big I want this to go. So thinking about something like their efforts to bring to turn every waking hour into one constant meal with snack, between meal snack linking. This is rambling nonsense. They strove, their purpose was to connect meals through snacking. They hope to combine all waking hours into one. Yeah, I like waking hours is funny. Waking hours and an entire meal. They had the ability to connect, to turn every waking hour into one constant meal, one unified. Yeah, unified is pretty funny. They had the ability to turn every waking hour into one constant meal through the power of snacking. Okay. And I think I want to shorten this even more. Okay. And just say they could. Yeah. So between meal snacks, making everything a meal. Okay, they could turn every waking hour into one constant, one continuous. There we go. Into one continuous meal through the power of snacking. And there would be a C in snaking. Oh, how I wish I would have put that online. The power of snaking. Okay, they could turn every waking hour into one continuous meal through the power of snacking. All right. Now that is funny. Ugh. All right. Here we go. Oh, it didn't mind anything. Aren't you glad I found my spell check? I know everybody was worried about that. So I'm now checking my spelling again. They could turn every waking hour into one continuous meal through the power of snacking. Snacks. Funny snacks. Actually, let's put a couple of little dots on the chip so he looks a little, you know how those potato chips are not slices of potato, but they're that pressed, like Pringles and stuff, that pressed potato. They have a brand in Japan called Chip Star that's exactly the same thing. It's just that pressed potato. And the funny thing is the can, I don't have any, I keep a lot of those cans. They're nice to put pens in. But the cans remain the same size. And maybe this is true of Pringles too. The cans have remained that same, tennis ball can size forever. But the chips inside keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So I think the chips have literally gone from this shape to this size to about that size. They're almost this mini snack size, but you can't tell from the outside. They just put less and less potato chips in that little tube. All right, so I think we've got it for today. That was a quick and uninteresting and painless effort for hopefully both of us, so they could turn every waking hour into one continuous meal through the power of snacking. Sounds pretty epic. And just the two of them, we're going to make a very ugly lunch. Ugly lunch sounds really familiar, but everything I write on this sounds very familiar. All right. So coming up this weekend, if you're watching this and you're in Japan, come to Big Sight, Tokyo Big Sight, this weekend, which would be, I'm checking, I believe the 12th and 13th. Yes, the 12th and 13th, Tokyo Big Sight is the Design Festa show. So we'll have a table booth at the Design Festa, and it's mostly going to be my work. It's going to be some other friends and people's some books and things, but it's mostly going to be my kind of new work. And I don't have anything incredibly new, but there will be a translation. We're going to do a booklet. I don't have the cover of the booklet here, but we're going to do a translation. So Japanese and English translation of the short stories that I'm working on recently that I think I've talked about. But this is the first one, and I've kind of thoroughly edited it, and it's been translated. So there's a Japanese version. So we're going to do a little bilingual booklet, which of course is the most useless way to circulate a short fiction, but I don't have anything really new for the show as far as work. It's been busy between this and the last show, so I haven't done anything new graphically, but there'd be new goods and things with kind of similar familiar art on them. But I'll have that booklet as something fun and new to read while you're waiting for Spaceman 3 coming soon. It's better be coming soon. But anyhow, thanks for watching, and you can follow me on Twitter at Abuse Cartoons, follow this cartoon, and Facebook, Abuse Cartoons, and then both the Twitch channel and the YouTube channel are just Abuse Cartoons, and then the website, abusecartoons.com. If you say that enough, it really gets annoying. So the website, and then of course, if you want to see more of this and see this daily and see and hear and enjoy this as much as possible, the Patreon, patreon.com/abusecartoons, like everything. So please consider supporting this cartoon, and there's some good stuff for the patron levels, including some original art, signed books, and just access to all the making of this cartoon. And please consider that. That would be a wonderful thing to bring this back to a daily cartoon. It was kind of my original intention, and that's why it's such a kind of sparse, tiny, manageable kind of drawing, is because it was daily, and anything too complicated was brutal as a daily cartoon. So think about that. And otherwise, I will see you again for another. This has been more than half a year. We've been doing this for a long time now. Another exciting live stream where we'll talk about more snacks and things and all kinds of nonsense from Japan, and hopefully someday about art and inspiration. I guess last week we talked a little bit about inspiration, so I don't feel so bad. But yeah, let's do this again next week. So I will see you then. And in the meantime, abusecartoons.com, and check the archive for 34 of these live streams. Just avoid the first few because the sound is brutal. You can watch the cartoon being made, but I don't think it's anything to listen to. It wasn't until this microphone that I think it was anything but difficult to hear, because At first, I was filming from behind. Don't know why, but that was giving you sound from behind my back, a microphone from behind my back that did not pick up so well. So yeah, check out the more recent streams to enjoy full HD and beautiful audio, and my endless rambling for an hour to an hour and a half every week. Yes, and so thanks again for watching, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.